A street begins working before everything has been officially resolved. Someone knows a person who can help. Another resident shares information, connects resources, or improvises a temporary solution. The city keeps moving. AbdouMaliq Simone starts from situations like this to raise a decisive question. What sustains urban life when formal institutions are insufficient? His answer shifts our usual idea of infrastructure. He does not look only at buildings, technical networks, or services organized from above. He observes people, relationships, and exchanges that keep everyday activities possible. His idea of people as infrastructure makes social relations central to urban functioning. Informality therefore stops appearing only as absence. It also reveals capacities to assemble resources when formal mechanisms are not enough. The mechanism begins with connections between people who hold different resources, knowledge, or possibilities. One relationship gives access to another. One exchange opens an opportunity. A network connects capacities that were previously scattered. Simone asks us to understand this assemblage as social infrastructure. The term may sound unusual because infrastructure usually suggests something built from physical materials. Here the image changes. Infrastructure can also be a human network capable of coordinating action. The central fact in the supplied material is that these relationships help sustain cities when formal institutions are insufficient. This can be read as an expanded understanding of urban functioning. Cities operate through installations and rules, but also through people combining resources. These combinations help solve practical needs without always depending on a complete formal structure. Imagine a first case. Someone needs to carry out an everyday activity but does not directly possess every necessary resource. That person knows someone who can provide one part. The second person connects them with another. The outcome depends less on a formal organization than on a chain of relationships. The example is hypothetical, but it translates Simone's mechanism. People function as mobile points within social infrastructure. They are not pipes or roads. They are connections capable of bringing scattered possibilities together. Informality appears here as a form of assemblage. This does not mean every relationship always works or that everyone has equal connections. It means everyday urban functioning can depend on networks that remain invisible when we examine only official institutions. A second case occurs on a street where several activities depend on each other. One person provides information. Another offers a useful contact. A third exchanges a resource needed to continue. Nobody controls the whole process, but the combination sustains the activity. From Simone's perspective, this informal coordination deserves attention alongside visible infrastructure. The reason is simple. It allows something to happen where an institutional response is insufficient. Our interpretation is that the city appears as a provisional and relational construction. Many solutions do not arrive fully formed from a single institution. Residents produce them through continuous adjustments. The street works because several capacities meet during the day. What looks like disorganized improvisation may contain concrete forms of coordination, learning, and adaptation among people. A third case can begin when a familiar connection stops working. Someone loses access to a needed resource or relationship. The network must then reorganize itself. One person introduces a new contact. Another exchange temporarily replaces the previous one. The result is not fixed infrastructure but an assemblage that changes with circumstances. An important distinction appears here. Informal networks are not presented as perfectly stable systems. Their capacity lies precisely in combining relationships and resources in different ways. Simone analyzes how residents make the city function every day through these assemblages. This can be read as a form of urban flexibility. Yet it also reveals dependence. When formal institutions are insufficient, maintaining everyday life requires constant relational work. The city keeps functioning, although much of that effort remains difficult to see. A necessary counterargument now appears. Describing people as infrastructure might sound too optimistic. It could turn institutional insufficiency into an attractive story about urban creativity. That reading would be problematic. The supplied material does not say formal institutions are unnecessary. It says they can be insufficient and residents assemble resources to sustain urban life. That distinction matters. Recognizing capacity does not mean celebrating lack. It also does not mean every form of informality is automatically desirable. The strength of the approach is that it observes what happens when an explanation based only on deficit becomes incomplete. People appear not only as victims of institutional absence. They also appear as actors producing connections. A fair analysis must keep both dimensions visible without turning necessity into romanticism. This perspective also changes how we understand the Global South. The supplied argument does not present these cities simply as incomplete versions of a formal model. Simone asks how they actually function when available institutions do not cover every need. That question changes the starting point. Instead of measuring only what is missing, he examines which relationships make everyday continuity possible. This can be read as a shift from deficiency toward the social production of capacity. My editorial reading is that this shift also changes how we think about planning. We can design a perfect city on paper and still misunderstand how it survives each day. Informal networks reveal an urban layer that plans struggle to capture. It consists of trust, exchange, contacts, and the ability to combine resources. Return to the street from the opening. It still works because one person knows another, someone shares information, and several resources find unexpected connections. Our initial question asked what sustains the city when formal institutions are not enough. Simone answers by examining what usually sits outside the infrastructure inventory. People, networks, and exchanges can take on essential functions in everyday urban life. Informality therefore stops meaning only an absence of order. It can describe processes through which residents assemble possibilities and maintain urban activities. This does not erase institutional insufficiency. It makes that insufficiency more visible by showing how much social work compensates for it. Cities function through buildings and formal systems, but also through relationships. Sometimes the most decisive infrastructure has a name, a memory, and connections.